Hello, and welcome to the visuals presentation for EME6507. The importance of visuals in the teaching and learning environment was recognized by one of the most influential American educational philosophers over a century ago. John Dewey said, "I believe much of the time and attention now given to the preparation and presentation of lessons might be more wisely and profitably expended in training the child's power of imagery and in seeing to it that he is continually forming definite, vivid, and growing images of the various subjects with which he comes in contact in his experience." In this presentation, I will provide an overview of the use of visuals in the classroom, discuss benefits and drawbacks to the use of visuals in the classroom and teaching and learning environments, examine various learning tools and instructional strategies that utilize visuals, and conclude by discussing some examples and resources, as well as the more common tools for creating and editing images. There are a number of reasons for using visuals in the teaching and learning environment. First, images are processed in the memory faster than words, so they can create a referent for ideas. This is important because visuals should relate to the material being addressed and not simply a screen filler, which is often the case. Second, images are useful at simplifying complex information. For example, when I was in London a few years ago, there was no way I would have been able to get around without the graphics of the tubes, stops, and routes. While the information was presented in a tabular format, the color-coded graphic was the only way to decipher the complex scheduling information, particularly for a novice. Next, graphics provide a redundant channel, and this is related to dual coding theory, which you will be reading more about this week. Visuals provide information in different modalities and provide students that may have missed information verbally an opportunity to comprehend it visually. In your readings this week, you will look at other uses of visuals, but in this presentation we're going to focus on realism, analogies, and organization. Realistic uses of visuals show the actual object under study in either a photo or illustration. As a result of it being the actual object, this can heighten the degree of realism of the topic. This is particularly important for learners that have little experience with the topic, as it provides additional information and context for the concept being addressed. As with text, providing too much information can be overwhelming, while providing too little information can be superficial and may adversely affect the learning environment. I will often discuss various storage devices in various learning situations, whether it is a workshop for teachers or if I'm working with a class of high school students. They all are typically familiar with CD-ROMs and DVD-ROMs. The device above, a flash drive, also called a pen drive or a jump drive or a USB drive, is sometimes unfamiliar to many of them. So this illustration of the actual object is useful in illustrating the actual item I'm referencing. I'm sure you can think of numerous situations in which realistic images would be useful in your teaching and learning environments. Analogic uses of visuals can be powerful, but have some limitations. Analogic uses convey similarities between two concepts. In these instances, new information is being related to prior knowledge. So for analogic uses to be beneficial, the learner must understand the analogy being used. Also, it is important for learners to understand what aspects of the analogy are being illustrated. So this adds a level of complexity to the use of graphics for this purpose. In the example above, planetary orbits are used as an analogy for the movement of electrons around the nucleus of an atom. While this model is very inaccurate, it is often used as an introduction to atomic structure. For the use of a visual like this to be effective, students must understand that the planets orbit the sun in these elliptical paths. There are many organizational uses of visuals. These include flowcharts, maps, graphics, schematics, concept maps, and others. These are useful to show relationships among various concepts or points. In the example here, various relationships and concepts could be illustrated. These include the relative size of Middle Eastern countries to each other, the relative location to each other, proximity to water, and a variety of others. Visual literacy is an extremely important issue when integrating visuals into the teaching and learning environment. Input and output strategies are critical to visual literacy, or the ability to decode and encode visual images and messages. Input strategies focus on helping learners interpret visuals by practicing visual analysis skills, while output strategies focus on helping learners create visuals to communicate with others. Reading a book or interpreting a video would be examples of input strategies, while writing a story or creating a video would be examples of output strategies. Visual design is also extremely important to address when considering the use of images in teaching and learning scenarios. And visual literacy particularly will be addressed in one of the reading resources provided this week. There are four main visual design elements that need to be addressed when designing and integrating images into the teaching and learning environment. First, it is important to ensure legibility, essentially making sure that everyone can see. Some issues related to this include color issues such as contrast, the size of the image, as well as image quality and the amount of detail in the graphic. A second visual design element is reducing effort, and this simply means that for images that are used to support a concept, learners should not have to use very much energy to interpret the image and what it means related to that particular concept. Third, it is important to increase active engagement. Make the image as appealing as possible, focusing on getting the student's attention. Some issues related to this include the style of the images, color schemes, as well as the quality of the graphics. Finally, it is important to focus the student's attention. By the sheer nature of the use of graphics, attention should be directed to the most important parts. Non-projected images include charts, posters, graphs, or still pictures. These can be great for providing representations of abstract relationships, numerical data, or to simply communicate a message to the learner. Some benefits of non-projected images is that they don't require any equipment and are relatively inexpensive to create. They are also useful for all disciplines and levels of education. However, sometimes non-projected images are too small to use with a large group. Projected visuals include document cameras, overhead projectors, slides, and digital images. Each of these have a large number of advantages and limitations depending on the learning environment. Overall, projected images, while requiring additional equipment, can be stored digitally, presented to large groups effectively, and allow for more flexibility in the teaching and learning environment. In this course, we'll be focusing on digital images or images that can be projected, either via a computer monitor, a television, or an LCD projector. A number of benefits of visuals have already been discussed. Some additional benefits of visuals, if used appropriately, include their ability to stimulate creativity and engage them and motivate students. Also, while visuals in the past were more difficult to develop and obtain, they are becoming much more accessible and easier to develop, access, or modify to fit individual needs. There are also a number of potential drawbacks to visuals if not implemented appropriately. First, visuals need to be level appropriate. If you're attempting to simplify a complex topic using a visual, but the image is too complex for the learner, the visual is actually detrimental to the learning process. Additionally, context must be provided with images. Images should always support the other media utilized in the teaching and learning environment, and vice versa. Also, images or other media should not be used simply as screen fillers. Next, while the availability of graphics has increased in recent times, and graphic development tools have become more sophisticated and easier to use, there's still a ways to go. Creating effective graphics can be very time-consuming and would be another thing in a classroom teacher's or instructional designer's already busy schedule. Related to this previous issue is the fact that developing and integrating graphics into the teaching and learning environment requires equipment. This might include hardware such as a computer to either make or download an image, a CD burner to create backups of the images or an external drive, a scanner to possibly scan an existing images, and an LCD projector to display the graphic. Also, software such as an image editor may be necessary to edit the graphic in an effort to make it more effective. Finally, the method in which the image is used is critical. I've seen numerous presentations in which the instructor used various unrelated clip art or personal images in an attempt to make the presentation more than just text. This is always distracting and detrimental to the learning environment. So if graphics are not used appropriately, this can significantly diminish the learning situation. Here, I've provided two example lesson plans that effectively integrate graphics. The water cycle is a beginner to intermediate lesson plan focusing on data visualization. The second is a more advanced lesson that focuses on data visualization, graphics, and measurement. I've also provided a number of sites containing graphics and other sources of media that can be used in the classroom. These are just a few, and there are tons of others. You could actually use Flickr or a variety of other resources. These are just to get you started. I've also provided a link to a number of common tools that are used for developing and editing graphics. Photoshop is Adobe's product. Fireworks is part of the CS suite, the Creative Suite. GIMP is a free open source tool that has many of the features of Photoshop but is limited in some of its capabilities and isn't quite as usable. And then Snagit is a screen capture software that works nicely with Camtasia, which is a screen recording software. All of these are tools that you can download and play around with and utilize for your projects in this course. This concludes the visuals presentation for EME6507.